It has been a very tumultuous year for Farming Sim 25 and Giants in general. From patches that have brought nothing but fear, dread and a sense of anxiety to DLCs that just have been very, very underwhelming. On top of that, the PR and marketing has been somewhat confusing, not namely the fact that they actually announced this DLC before they announced a DLC that was going to be released before it, that being the Mercedes pack. All in all, it's been a very weird year as a result. I find that hype around new releases and new patches is at an all-time low, and interest in the game is very much waning, for me especially. As a result, Kinlake and the Highlands Fishing DLC was sort of a Hail Mary. It was a last chance saloon, if you will. And once again, I'm left bitterly disappointed. That's not to say that the map isn't absolutely stunning, because it is. And if it was just a generic map that didn't really have much weighing on it, if it didn't have anything going for it, then I'd be quite happy if this was the expansion. However, because they've done something that they did with Silver and Forest, which is limit a lot of the features and new mechanics, new equipment, new buildings to this map, the fact that the map is missing some very key elements and a lot of the features of Highlands Fishing is lackluster, it means that the longevity of this map and therefore Farm Sim's interest into Season 2 is not great, in my opinion. And I want to make clear that this video is very much an opinion piece. It's very much me looking at the game and what I expect from it and what I would want Giants to do as a whole, and specifically on this DLC. It's very much opinion, it's all subjective. However, I do feel it is important. The problems with this map and this DLC are many, in my opinion, and they start with the very basic. They start with a problem that a lot of us have said from day one, and that is that you can't utilize a lot of what this map has to offer outside of this map. The aqua farms are currently only buildable on this map, even though there are plenty of water areas on other maps, base game included, and the actual aqua farms are not that big. The price of the fields on this map are extortionate, and as a result the pacing of the map feels a bit off to me. It feels like a really long grind and slog, like they've arbitrarily made it slow to try and keep you playing on it because you become invested. To other problems with the map, like the fact that you can only buy a boat from the boat shop and it doesn't show in the shop section of the game. This makes it very difficult to find and sell if you have become used to one of my favourite mods, being the garage menu edition. On top of that, there are weird costs for it. So the boat is incredibly expensive and it adds an extra arbitrary £25,000 on for transport. Why not just make the boat cost £275,000? Why make it convoluted? The game is meant to be accessible to all, and yet they seem to be making it less accessible by making it more difficult to find and work things out. Furthermore, the boat doesn't really have much use. You're really only going to need it if you want to play like a full simulation, if you want to do everything, and this is a choice. It's not a you need to do this for mechanics' sake, because realistically all they've done is added a new production chain, and again it's a production chain that you can't use to its fullest extent anywhere but Kinlake. It's not like with Silver and Forest in 22 where they added new contracts. Granted, you could only use those contracts on Silver and Forest, but they added more contracts, which was more content. It got you used to how they worked. This is just another production, which you can put down and forget about. They have added onions, and onions are a nice addition, but again, they suffer from the same problem that vegetables do, though not quite to the same extent, in that they take a long time to do, and I don't really know many people who don't use a mod for vegetables who find it fun and enjoyable. They have at least added some machines for capacity so you can play it single player, but it is going to take you a very, very long time. On the note of the map and the new crops and the new fishing, which this map has been so heavily ordained towards, they've left out a very vital and key point. Now, there's nothing to say that you can't just put down this production, but it seems very, very silly to me that they've made the entire thing fishing, and then one of the key ingredients for both onions and fish food being oil, and there isn't a pre-placed oil factory on the map. And I had a look and I had a bit of research, and there is no place in Scotland called Kinlake, so this is a completely fictitious map, which means there is nothing stopping them from just adding on an oil mill. It seems really, really silly to me to have something so heavily geared towards that you can't get the fullest extent out of, and then make you have to buy land and then try and place an oil mill down somewhere that's going to make sense without screwing with the landscaping. It's an oversight that shouldn't have been made, and I would love to have been in the boardroom, the directors, the design aspect of it, where they turned around and said, yeah, let's not have an oil mill, let's ignore that, let's just not think about that. Which means either people don't care in Giants, or they're doing it on purpose for some reason that is not really clear to me or anybody else. Furthermore, with the map and the way it's done, again, the fields are incredibly expensive, and on top of which, you have the windmill, which you can construct, which is cool. But there's no other grain mill on the map. It's not like the grain mill museum on Riverbend Springs, where you can build it, doesn't do anything, which is a shame, because I'd love to make it and have the choice of maybe turning it into a museum or making it a working grain mill for yourself. You don't need to buy the land first for those, they're just there as construction points. With this, you need to spend £457,000 to buy the land, and then you need to start constructing it. And you don't get to see what you're going to need to start constructing it until you've bought that land. Now, if I had to guess, I'd say it was probably going to be wood and stone and big stone blocks like stonemasonry and stuff. But that means that you're going to need a sawmill and the stonemasonry, which means you're going to have to buy those productions as well, on top of also having a water source. And if you don't start on the starting farm, then you're going to have to buy some land with some trees on it so you can start logging, which means you're going to need more logging equipment. All in all, to get a single grain mill, it's going to cost you nearly £2 million. You can buy one in the shop, pre-built, for $288,000. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, and it seems very much, again, like they're trying to force you to spend time on this map when you might not necessarily want to after a certain amount of time. Then there's the equipment. On the surface, the equipment and the vehicles that you get with the Highlands DLC are plentiful and they look cool, until you start diving into them, and it shows the same problem that we've had with Farm Sim and their DLCs. For me personally, as somebody that is quite economically minded on this game, that makes them sort of not really worth it. Now, don't get me wrong, choice is nice, choice is good, but only if the choice is competitive. And the choices in this game are not competitive. If we take the lime spreader, for example, the AgriSped AS2100 SCS, which comes with the Highlands Fishing expansion. Now, this is a very direct competitor to the Brendel K105, which is one of my favourite fertiliser spreaders on the game. It has a very good capacity, it has the ability to do lime and fertiliser, which up until this point, outside of mods, nothing else has. It has a good range. Now, the AgriSped is £62,500, which is more expensive than a fully upgraded Brendel K105. And you only get 9,000 litres. You get 6 metres more coverage, but you only get 9,000 litres. For less money, I can lose out on 6 metres coverage, but have up to 14,000 litres capacity, and it's going to cost me less money. I'm not going for this. It is not a good comparative. It is more expensive and not as good. The brand is cool, and again, this is subjective, but I'm not going to spend my money on that if I'm trying to do a good, efficient, economical playthrough. Not new, anyway. There are other things in this game, like we've got seed tanks now, which is awesome, I guess. again, more choice of things is nice, but these are more expensive. They do hold a little bit more than base game, but these are more expensive than the base game ones. And again, it's a seed tank. Who cares? Like, they've got different seeders and different planters in, which is good. They're quite expensive. I'm not spending £135,000 on something that's only 6 meters wide when there's something else that's already around that price point, probably cheaper, that still does direct drilling as well. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me that they're adding all this in and the pricing just seems way off. And then there's JCB. Now, JCB has been a point of contention for me since this DLC has been released, because it shouldn't have been put behind a paywall. These two tractors, granted, and it's been pointed out to me that they're not the specific same ones because they were the older model, were in 22 for free, and now they've been taken out of 22, and you've got the 8000 icon and the 4000 icon and the old 2000 4WS series as a paid DLC. I wouldn't have minded if they'd have put the old 4400 and the old 8800 in the game as base game. Give us the old model and then the new model as DLC. I'd be fine with that. But to take the old fast tracks out and then put these in behind paid DLC after they've already seen and approved a mod of the JCB in the game just seems wild to me. I don't understand why. It seems grubby and it seems sleazy. So again, on the surface, it looks like there's a lot here, but realistically there isn't. I mean, they've got the Veriton, which allows you to do potatoes and onions, but it's 500,000 and it only holds 9,000 capacity. I don't know about you, but if you've ever done potatoes, if you're running out after 9,000 litres, you're not doing very many fields, if at all. I do like the fact that you can just buy your fish food, which is good. But if you want to make it, again, you're going to need oil, and you can't do that on Kinlake. And again, you can't place down the aquafarm because it's only available on Kinlake. Now, there is a good thing about that. There is one good thing about the aquafarm, and that is that you can place it anywhere. You do not require owned land to put the aquafarm down in water, which is a good thing. But that's where the good thing about the aquafarm ends, because it is quite expensive. It's 125,000, and it's only available on this map. All in all, then, I just feel like this DLC suffers from the same thing that most of the other things that Giants have done this year and with 25 suffer from. And that is simply that they just never feel like they go far enough. I don't know whether it's laziness, I don't know whether it's technical ability, I don't know whether it's staff size, I don't know whether it is that they are scared to make these massive changes and to go fully lean into them. But it just feels like they never quite go far enough. They sort of get where you need to be or where the player base wants them to, and then they stop just short. And I still don't quite understand why they went with fishing in the first place. There are plenty of other things that the UK do very, very well, that they could have added a ton of new crops instead of just one new crop and one new production, that would have made this DLC so much better. I don't know whether they're struggling to get contracts to get the licenses for certain bits of equipment. I don't know whether they have stretched themselves too thin. I wish that I could understand where Giants' direction is going. Because currently, it seems like they're just trying to alienate the player base. Between bad patch updates, which seems to break something new every single time, DLCs that are thoroughly underwhelming and disappointing, and design choices that just make little to no sense at all. Let me know in those comments down below if you agree with anything or if you disagree with everything that I've said. Let me know what your concerns and what you're hopeful for on the next season, if you like, if you're going to be going for Season 2 after this year of the DLC releases. And I will see you all in the next video. Ciao, ciao.